Hey there, friends. Pastor Dave here with another weekly devotion for all the saints. Hope you're doing well today. I want to read a quick devotion from Sarah Arthur's Coffee with God to get us thinking today. And this is about purpose. Sometimes I wonder if I love books too much. Whenever I enter a bookstore, I'm like a kid on Christmas morning, eyes big and round, mouth hanging slightly open. I want everything. I find each section mesmerizing, especially the children's corner. I could curl up on those comfy beanbag chairs and read the great classics all day long. Youth fiction such as The Westing Game or The Borrowers, or From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Baisley Frankweiler. Now that's great literature. But then, lurking in the back of my mind, are the tremendous needs of this sad, hurting planet. Couldn't I better spend my time helping at the literacy center? Shouldn't I volunteer at the soup kitchen instead of reading fiction on the porch swing in the lazy summer heat? Yes and no. As Christians, we must respond to the needs of the world, but only those needs to which Christ specifically calls us. Otherwise, we might easily become overwhelmed or think of ourselves as spiritual superheroes. When He presses upon our hearts a certain need at a certain time, that is our task. But He also calls us to marinate in the things that flavor our souls and vocations, and for me, that happens to be literature. How can I write anything if I'm reading nothing? Writers begin by reading. Artists begin by studying the masters and then mimicking their styles. And meanwhile, the world is enriched by this work, but most especially when the work is done to the glory of God. I've learned that the more I try to turn my back on books and do the spiritual tasks I think God wants, the more the author and perfecter of our faith throws books in my way, both to read and to write. Well, saints, if you're watching this on the 25th, I am currently on a mission trip with our youth in Asheville, North Carolina. We're doing Hurricane Helene recovery, helping rebuild and repair, doing construction type projects. And I thought that this was a really interesting devotion to connect with that idea because, there is that connection between purpose, vocation, our sense of calling, and that word mission. What does mission mean to you? So the Mormons came by our house the other day, and Charlotte had never seen this before. She didn't know quite what was going on. So we had a conversation afterward about what the boys were doing, going door to door, talking about their faith. And this is in the Mormon church. It is called their mission. Now, she knew that I was going on a mission trip, and she started wondering, well, what are you doing? Are you doing the same kind of thing? I said, no, our work is more hands-on. It's more, service-type projects helping people out. We also have neighbors whose parents have been missionaries in Spain for decades. They've spent much of their life there. And so there's the idea of a mission worker who might do their work by helping build or run churches and schools and hospitals. And then we think about the secular world, what we mean by mission. We kind of tend to think of it as something that is an urgent task that needs to be done, something you are assigned. And it has that connotation of a military operation. We think about service members who are on missions. They have missions to undertake. There are lots of different ways we could think about what mission means. But it does all tend to come back to the idea of purpose, of feeling like there's something that we are supposed to do. Oftentimes, we worry about what our mission in life is, what our purpose as Christians is. And in the big sense, it comes from the Great Commission from Matthew 28. Jesus tells his followers to go out into the world and baptize all nations and teach them what I have taught you. So what we're supposed to do is help disciple other people, help them grow in faith. But of course, there are lots of ways to do that. And we really do need to narrow it down for our own lives. Like Sarah said, we can't do everything. We can't respond to everyone and to every need. We have to figure out those specific things that God wants of us in particular. Do you know what your mission is, what your purpose, what your vocation is? So for Sarah, it's a writer. And she points out something really interesting, that in order to be a writer, in order to be the person God needs her to be, she has to do other things that help prepare her for that. She has to read. She has to interact with literature. She has to, she has to explore what other authors have done. When you think about what you need to do or what God needs from you, do you ever think about what it would take to become the person that can accomplish that mission? Maybe what you need to be doing this weekend or this afternoon or next month isn't necessarily the work that you think of as mission, but it's the prep work. It's the getting yourself ready. It's the part where you work on your own background, capabilities, psyche, emotional state, whatever it might be, that would enable you to do the thing that God needs you to do. So saints, how do you need to get ready for your mission? That's your devotion for this week. Hope it's helpful, worth thinking about. I hope you're doing well, staying healthy. I'll be praying for you, saints. Hope you'll keep praying for me, and I will see y'all again soon. Take care.